Let's before we dive into this wonderful film and y'all's relationship with Max, you guys have had a long history together, and can you tell us a little bit about your musical background and how you guys started connecting in that environment? What made y'all start a band together? Like, what was it that just fit perfectly between you guys, your cello player? I mean, where did that start?
Well, Nadia and I are both actors in New York, and I am moved to New York to study comedy, and she studied musical theater and theater, and we met at a commercial audition for Kohl's department store, and we, the casting director was like, improvise, make it your own, and we like instantly clicked, comedy wise, and so Nadia was. We kind of courted each other in terms of like adult friendships and like making friends. And we both lived in Queens, and she just asked, do you want to sing in my band? I'm kind of fleshing out this comedy thing that she had been doing on her own for a while. And she was like, I'm trying to make it into like a band, a group. And she asked me, do you sing? And I said, yes, I'm a second alto. And she was like, we're looking for an alto. And so we just kind of became friends and started collaborating in this band, which is comedy band. It's like folky comedy.
Summer and Eve,
the band.
Well, I'm curious then. Let's talk about musical theater, because that is such a different environment than regular like theater. Tell me about what made you jump into that rather than just theater.
It's so interesting because it was very random. I grew up in Wisconsin and didn't know much about anything. I knew that I loved performing since I was a kid, and I loved singing, and I did all the plays and musicals in high school, and I knew I wanted to go to school for it. So I initially got into the acting program at my school, Viterbo University, this really small school in Wisconsin. And then when I went to tour the campus after I was accepted, I met someone who was like, oh, I'm a musical theater major. And I was like, well, what is that? And she's like, it's the same as acting, but you also get to be in choirs and take voice lessons. And I was like, well, I want to do that too. That sounds fun. So I switched my major without knowing, I didn't know anything. So, but it was really good. I got such a strong foundation in music theory, and I sang in choirs for 5 years at the collegiate level in 3 different choirs, and learned a lot of the stuff that ended up really helping Summer and Eve become what it was, because I arranged all of our music. And so coming from a theater background and Emily coming from the comedy background, I think has really served us very well on all of the things that we worked on together, because those are 2 totally different sects of this entertainment business that sort of come together to make something special.
Do you mind if I ask about the jump to New York? How that like just changed everything, impacted y'all? Because that is such a big move. Wisconsin, obviously Texas, like to make that dive, not to necessarily go LA, but to go New York first and do that route.
Specifically for me, I went to UT. I have a degree in psychology and Spanish. And my senior year, I had some space for an elective, and every time I had space for electives in college, I took a theater class, and my senior year I took a class called Intro to Improv, and the textbook was this book, Truth in Comedy, which is written by Sharna Halpern, and fell in love with improv, and then decided, I kind of made a list of places that people move to do improv specifically, and it was New York, Toronto, Chicago, or LA. And I was like, God, I don't know anything about Canada. Can't go there. And then kind of decided that I wanted to go to what I thought was the most difficult place to be.
Wow.
And something kind of romantic about New York to me in my mind. I'd always like wondered I'd never been to New York before I went there to look for an apartment. And I think I just wanted to live in the most craziest, hardest, beautiful, weirdest place. So that's why I chose New York.
Nadia, for you, Wisconsin, I've heard of so many people that go Wisconsin, Chicago. That seems to be the route. Why New York, though?
It was the only place I ever wanted to go. I visited in high school with my theater club when I was 16, and I immediately knew I was going to live there. And I graduated college and put on a one-woman show in Milwaukee to raise money to move to New York, and then I moved there. It was just like the thing I was going to do. So, but I wanted to be on Broadway. That was my goal, and I did that. And then, yeah, I don't know. New York is just, everything is there. It's the best place. I think it's the best place to be. I love LA so much too, but New York felt like, I think the same thing too about it being difficult. Like, I knew it was going to be this, that sort of like, if you can make it there, you'll make it anywhere. And I was like, well, I'm going to go there and make it there then. And then take over the rest of the world.
Yeah.
That was sort of my young 16-year-old's thought about it. So, yeah.
Yeah, LA doesn't have the big white way. It's just not the same.
No, there's a lot there too.
No offense, Sam and JK, who live in LA.
Well, let's jump to, how did you guys meet Max and get started in his world, since that gets us back to the movie? Because you guys are involved in more than just this short, and you're more than just actors on this film. You've gotten behind the scenes. You're producing. What is it about Max that made y'all want to dive into working with him more?
Well, it's funny, Emily and I met at this commercial audition, and Max and I met shooting a Pearl Vision commercial in Miami, Florida. We were in the same commercial shoot. There were 10 actors. We were flown down to Miami, and he and I also had an immediate connection. Like, on the bus from the airplane to our hotel, we're sort of like joking around with each other and ended up becoming friends that weekend. And then sort of we're trying to find ways to help each other move our careers to the next level. And he gets work as an actor all the time that he doesn't really want. He's like, I want to act to make money so I can write. So he was saying, I really want to be a writer. He sent me some of his scripts after that weekend, and I said, I just want to act. Will you write things for me? So the first film we did together, Flower Shop, it was purely for that purpose. He said, I want to write something. And I said, well, I want to act in something. So he just went off and wrote the script. And then we did a Kickstarter to raise money for it, and did that for the 30 days and made $18,000 to make that first movie. And then immediately after that, we made another film that Emily was involved in called Kitty that we made for a very small amount of money. And it was sort of just like, it just spiraled, like it turned into other things. It was like, what next? You get that bug of, okay, we made something that was awesome. Now what else? Now what's the next thing we can make, and how can we make that? And, when Max mentioned, Emily and Max and I had been writing things together and trying to come up with ideas. And so we planned to go to LA to do that. And it was like, well, if we're going to be in LA, let's make another short film there. And so that's why he reached out to JK and Sam. And it was just sort of like the hunger to keep making things and creating things, I think, that, I don't know. Do you have anything to say about that?
I agree.
I'm curious, that when you guys are doing your singing together compared to acting, in the same project, is it different, same? Is it a different feel?
Well, interestingly, these characters that we played in Millwood are very different from, our kind of dynamic on stage and as a comedy duo. They're characters, and they're in this world. But someone came up to us after and was like, your chemistry together, the two of you, is so present and everyone can tell. And I was like, that's so interesting that you could see our chemistry bleed through Evelyn and Nettie. And what we do on stage as a comedic duo is very different. And
it's still sort of the same.
Still sort of like, I'm dark and she is light, and she's the one who's saying sweet, funny things, and I'm the one like pushing the envelope and saying things that are really inappropriate. And
banter in our shows. It's
the
not
banter,
all music.
right?
We do sort of.
So we kind of do basically like a stand-up act together in between our songs.
Is there any way you could give us a light and dark right now?
Without push, I don't know.
You can push the boundary online. You can say whatever you want.
I don't know.
An example of what.
Not to be weird, but I will talk about, I don't know. I don't think I should say anything. I feel like I'm going to say something terrible. I feel like I'm going to be like, I talk about killing myself on stage, and she's like, don't do that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Suicide's always topical.
It's
cool.
always topical. It's a big, it's an issue. Has been since the dawn of human life.
Rape and suicide come up a lot on
Yeah.
stage out of Emily's mouth for some reason. There's a lot
I
of
don't
rape
know.
and suicide talk, and then I'm like, Emily, it's not planned though. It's just what
It is improvised, you know. Some of the bits in between our songs are like scripted segues to get us into the next topic of the song. Like we have a song about George Foreman, and because all of his kids are named
are the same.
George.
George.
So
5
it's
sons named George.
so we
And a daughter named Georgina?
He wanted to name her Georgina, but his wife put her foot down. She was like, "No, George. The 5 sons named George. That's it. Our daughter, we're naming her Mary."
yes, all of that is true. So
We did a lot of research.
yeah, I don't know. Did that answer your question?
It totally did. Rape and suicide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big problem.
Hot topic.
Well, let's jump into Millwood a little bit. You guys did just have the world premiere. What did you feel about the reaction? I mean, we were just talking with the fellas, and this is the first year I've seen them move to the bigger venue. Usually the short film categories have always been in a smaller venue, and they made the leap to push short films into a much bigger house. Did that impact the way you guys were there? I know you haven't been in the small venue, but to have it be in a big venue like that, what were your feelings?
It felt like we had made it. You know, it felt like we were important, and the festival cared about short films, and I love short films so much, and I love watching a block of short films and like feeling different every 10 to 15 minutes. And it just felt special that we were, you know, cared for in that way by the festival, and that so many people were there, you know, like there was probably like 25 empty seats in that place, which I can't do the math, but thousands of people were there.
It's definitely
Yeah, it
over
was good.
200. It's a legit number.
Yes. It was great. It was really cool to see it. We just sort of like clutched each other's hands and we're like, it's on the screen now. We're watching our movie. It was really exciting.
Yeah.
I had like tears in my eyes the whole time, just like sitting there. It was great.
So when you guys were filming, tell me a bit about the production itself. Being able to, Sam talked about being able to get into the backlot area. What about shooting not in that backlot area, but in the neighborhood itself, being able to find that and diving into the project so quickly and making it so quickly?
I think we had a really great team. I think that Max knew Sam and JK and was able to bring them in. They're such hustlers and total badasses and did so much of what is to me the terrible work of making a movie is the stuff that they somehow enjoy doing and are very good at. So it was a really nice collaboration, and the rest of our production team, like Margot and Martine, our DP, and I mean, finding the Chatsworth house was really, it's my friend Charlie's house he grew up in LA. So I like put on Facebook, does anyone have a house we could shoot in for cheap? And his mom, I'm friends with his mom, and she wrote and was like, ask Charlie, we could shoot here, come check it out. So everything came together very fluidly and organically for this movie, from Max reaching out to JK and Sam 2 months before we were going to do it and saying, can we make a movie? And arriving there and having meetings, and the rest of the crew sort of coming together. And my family that I stay with out there are editors, and my cousins ended up editing the film, and you know,
They won an Oscar for editing Rocky.
Really?
No big deal. Those are her cousins.
Richard Halsey is my cousin, and his daughter Morgan, who is my cousins, she edited it. So that was a cool connection. It just felt like everyone pulled all their connections in and threw them in the pot, and that's how this movie came to be. I mean, the fact that Sam was able to get us on the CBS lot was insane. Like, that was an outrageous advantage to have for a short film. It just felt really like a blessing. Everyone's pool of resources like went into this big pot, and we mixed it up and then threw it on the floor, and it was Millwood.
Well, let's talk about getting
Is that
into
true?
Austin and a homecoming, definitely, and being able to showcase Austin to, you know, the rest of these fine folks you got to work with.
It's been really great. You know, my brother still lives here, and he just had a baby. So I'm like coming home to see the baby and the film festival and Halloween, which is my favorite day in the whole world. And getting to show, you know, my best friend, you know, kind of where I'm from and where I went to school. And everyone, it feels like everyone's at my high school reunion. You know, it feels great. And we're having so much fun. And I love Austin.
I got to ask, where have you taken, or where are you going to take them? in the city?
I took them to Swift's Attic last night,
Nice,
which
really?
is
Yeah.
a restaurant I went to last year. I come here every year for Thanksgiving, so I'll be back in like 3 weeks. And it was really great, and we had shared plates. And we've been walking up and down 6th Street, you know, going to the producer parties and stuff, and they're like, this is crazy. This is New Orleans. You know, this is weird, but, you know, it's a college town, and it's a hella weekend, so it's going to be nuts tonight.
Last question then. Since the guys wouldn't tell me what they're wearing, I'm guessing y'all have outfits?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we are going to be zombies.
Or like
So, like bees
Oh.
that are zombies.
And
So
then,
dead bees.
and we have one letter B. My husband's here, and he's going to be a letter B zombie. So we're like a group of zombies.
So when y'all sting people, do people become zombies too? Or zombies?
Yes,
Yeah.
now because you said that, yes.
Yes.
That is what we're going to tell people.
so.
I love that. Can y'all do like a bees to end it with me? Like
Sure.
bees.
Bees.
I feel like it should be scary somehow, like, ha 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 ha.
That was good.
Bees. You know?
That works.
And
Really great
we're
ending.
wrapped. That was it. Cut.